In the 6th chapter of the Gospel of St. Luke, Christ commands us to love our enemies, to be generous and lend without expectation of receiving in return, to treat others as we would want to be treated, not as we are treated, but as we would want to be treated. And when we read these commandments, who amongst us cannot accept and acknowledge that we have fallen short? We have failed to love, we have failed to forgive. And at times it may seem impossible. These commandments may seem so far beyond our reach that we may be filled with despair and be tempted to give up. But St. Gregory Palamas says to us, every precept of Christ, every commandment is written in our hearts. The commandments of Christ are innate within us, to us. God said he will write his laws in our hearts. In the beginning we were created in God's image and likeness. We were created in the beauty of God. And everything that God has done, everything that God is doing, is drawing us back to this image. It is God remaking us in the image of this original beauty. And every time we are obedient to these commandments, every time we try to love, every time we try to forgive, we are imitating God. We are more like God. We are being healed. The image of God is being restored within us. The grace of God is at work in us. When we look at the generosity of God, God gives beyond measure. He gives us the world, he gives us life. God gives us himself. But God does not just do this when we are grateful, when we are worshipping him. God even gives when we reject him, when we put him to death. Even then, he is willing to forgive. And yet, we are called to forgive so little. The small slights and injuries that others do to us. We are called to share such small amounts. Trifling. St. Gregory Palamas says, we can only do this when our hearts are transformed by love. When we cease to judge other people. So often we are contemptuous and critical of other people. And yet when other people speak harshly about us, we feel the injustice. It strikes us hard. St. Gregory says to us, we should learn to be as quick to condemn our own words, to reject and see the injustice in our own criticism and judgment of others, as we feel when we are criticized unfairly. We must only speak good of others, and we should not relish to hear criticism of other people. Walk away, reject it. Do not allow the world to corrupt us. Even in small things, the world and the devil may gain access to our hearts. We must love and be generous in such small things, and God assures us that in so doing we will be restored and healed, and he will reward us with his eternal treasures.